Hi guys, I'm Anita and I'm back with another video. Today I want to share with you a couple of books that I've been reading. I'm currently doing a secret vlog thing that is themed and it will be uploaded soon. I'm very close to finishing the last two things that I need to finish for that. I don't want to talk about those books before you've seen the vlog. So in this video I'll be talking about anything else that I've been reading since then, and I have 5 other books to talk about, so it's not like I don't have any books to talk about. And if I thought that if I didn't do it, the next time I do a wrap up it will be insanely long because I'll have so many books to talk about. So let's start out with The Unspoken Name by A.K. Larkwood. This is the first book in a series called The Serpent's Gate, and it follows Sorway. I think that's how you pronounced it. I have almost forgotten it. She's been raised to be a sacrificial wife to the Unspoken One, who is an ancient god living within the earth. The short, very short synopsis. Honestly, I just never connected to the story one bit. I wanted to so bad. It was one of my most anticipated of the year. It is a debut and it had a lot of potential. I thought that it sounded really interesting, sort of how she knew her own fate was going to be. And honestly, after reading it, I was like, what was this book even about? I had a hard time remembering any of the characters. They didn't feel very distinct at all to me, and the atmosphere was interesting. Like the world was interesting, but it was like the author wanted to add so many different things and plot points to it that she didn't have time to explore in depth with any of it, and it came out being extremely dull and very, I don't know, I wasn't into this book at all. I just found it really difficult to actually pick up the audio and continue with it, and I don't ever want to feel like that when I read a book. So I've started doing the core pile again, so I'll just give you my ratings for the different factors. The characters get a 4 out of 5, and like 4 out of 10. I just never really connected to them. The atmosphere gets a 5 out of 10. Again, not very high. The writing gets a 6 because I thought the writing was decent enough. There was not super much to say about it. The plot got a 5 because there were some things that just didn't add up, considering she added so many different things she wanted to explore without having the time and to explore it all. As I said, the intrigue gets a 3 because it couldn't keep my attention enough. Logic gets a 4, and overall enjoyment gets a 3 out of 10. So this gives an overall score of 4.23, which means it's a 2.5 out of 5 star. The next thing that I finished is The Fifth Elephant by Pratchett. This is book 24 in the Discworld, and it is the 4th or something book set in the City Watch sub-series. And this one, it does follow a mystery surrounding the fifth elephant. What happened to it? The fifth elephant, like if you know anything about the Discworld, you know that the Discworld is a flat disc that is held up by 4 giant elephants as well as a tortoise. But once there was 5 elephants, and one of them just one day wasn't there. It is said that maybe possibly it just slipped out of the sink and just floated around in the atmosphere, one day crashing onto this Discworld again. So yeah, so there was definitely a mystery surrounding that. We had several characters that has been introduced to us in some of the other series, like Igor, who is a vampire type person. I overall just really enjoyed this one. Pratchett never really disappoints me, so that's great. The characters in this one gets an 8 out of 10. I do really enjoy Sam, Coyle and Carrot, and Igor is really improving himself. It's not like my favorite type of cast of characters, but I do really enjoy them. The atmosphere get a 9. Actually, honestly, I should probably have given this a 10 because I love the Discworld, but Angmar is probably not my favorite place on the Discworld. But it is still good, and I give it a 9 out of 10. The writing gets 9 out of 10. I always enjoy Terry Pratchett's writing, though it has been better before, so I don't want to give it 10 for this one. So a 9 out of 10 for this. The plot gets an 8 out of 10. It was definitely very well structured, but it wasn't the best, and there were some of it that I would have wanted more from, I guess. And overall intrigue gets an 8 out of 10 because I was always intrigued to pick it up again. The logic gets an 8 out of 10, very much like the former. I just enjoyed it, and I thought that it was a good plot and it made sense. And overall enjoyment gets an 8 out of 10, so just an overall really good book by Terry Pratchett, and this gives a score of 8.29, which equals to 4 out of 5 stars. So yeah. The next book I have to talk about is Deadly Sting by Jennifer Estep. This is book 8 in the Elemental Assassin series. This series follows Jen Blanco, who is an assassin. She is known as the Spider, and she has recently had a couple of things happening to her. Like, in this world, it is filled with elemental magicians, or people who are able to do elemental magic. And Jen is one of the few that has 2 elemental magical powers. One of them is her ice magic, and the other one is the stone magic. And she tries as much as she can to do her assassination jobs without having to use her magical powers, because she doesn't really want to reveal them. But as the books have gone on and the challenges has become a lot greater, she's been found that she has to use the elemental magic that she has in order to save herself. So I do enjoy Jane as a character. She's flawed, but you get a lot of background information over the books to suggest why she's acting the way she is. At this point in time, she has sort of retired from her assassin jobs, but still people comes after her because now they know who the Spider is in real life, so she is always a target. And yeah, that definitely causes some trouble. In this one, it was different because like the whole book was this one big event that happened, and usually there would be some smaller events like all the time, and then a big one at the end that she had to solve. But this one, the event more or less took over the whole book, and that was definitely different. Overall, my ratings are as follows. The characters get an 8 out of 10. I do really enjoy the characters in this one, especially Jen. Jen has always been a really good character to me, and some of the other characters that I didn't like as much in the previous book have definitely remedied themselves a little bit, but the other characters are still same as ever, so I overall give them 8 out of 10. The atmosphere, I just enjoy being in this world, and it gets an 8 out of 10, but yeah, there was something in this one that lacked a little bit. The writing gets a 6 out of 10. Jennifer Estep is not my favorite writer. She has a tendency to use a lot of the same phrases again and again, and a lot of the same descriptions when she's talking about people, and it can become a little bit tiresome, but otherwise I do think it's decent enough. The plot gets a 6 out of 10 as well. This one didn't work as well for me because it was just one giant event, and it dragged out the overall process a little bit. The intrigue gets a 7 because, as I said before, I fly through these books. I read this in 2 sittings, more or less, so they're definitely very easy to read. The logic gets a 7 out of 10, again, because it just lacked a little bit. And the overall enjoyment gets a 7.5 out of 10 because it was good. I enjoyed myself, it was entertaining, but it is definitely not my favorite in the series. And this gives an overall score of 7.07, which gives a 4 out of 5 stars. Another book that I've read recently has been French pressed by Cleo Coyle. This is book 6 in the Coffee House Mystery. This is a series that follows this woman who is a part owner of this coffee shop, and she always happens to become part of a murder mystery. In this one, it is because her daughter is becoming a main suspect when a friend of hers, as well as her internship boss, turns up dead, and they have been killed with some of her own knives. So it definitely causes some troubles for her because she is not a murderer. Her mother knows this, but she has to find a way of clearing her daughter and find out who the real killer is. But let's get into the breakdown. The characters gets a 6 out of 10. I often find myself frustrated with the characters in this one. I've explained this a lot of times before. It was a little bit better in this one. I felt like our main character made some decisions in this one that was better. However, I still think she has some issues, and I think definitely some of the side characters were still as annoying as ever. The atmosphere gets a 7 out of 10 because I do enjoy this. It's a good setting. It's in a coffee house. It has a comfortable sort of place to me. The writing gets a 6 out of 10. It's not the best. It's okay, but it's could have been a lot better if she could have minimized the amount of unnecessary drama. The plot gets a 4 out of 10 because the mystery itself is incredible. I think that the mystery was well written and well thought out and well constructed, but still her ex-husband just takes up so much time and annoyance in this book that it made it me really annoyed. And the overall intrigue gets a 5 out of 10 because I find them really easy to read, but sometimes I also find myself thinking, okay, how far do I have left? Do I really need to continue to read this? When will this be over? And that's never a good sign. The logic gets a 6 out of 10 because there are just things that don't add up. And overall enjoyment gets a 6 out of 10. It was an average, alright book. It was definitely better than the last one. So I overall think that it is improving, and I'll give it definitely another book before I make a decision about this series as a whole. And this gives an overall score of 5.71, which gives a 3 out of 5 stars. The last and final thing that I finished recently, or just today, was Fullmetal Alchemist volume 14. It's been a while since I read a volume from this, and it's been a while since I read a manga in general. So I was really just feeling like I needed to pick this one up, also because I have to hand it back in at the library soon, because now the libraries are starting to open. I did manage to renew it just before the libraries opened again, so I won't have to hand it in until I think next month sometime. So I definitely had some time, but I would like to get some of them out of the way so I could hand them back in at the library. This is obviously volume 14 in a manga series, so it's very far into this story, and I can't talk much about the plot of this, but the Fullmetal Alchemist series follows these two brothers who are alchemists. They're state alchemists, and they once, because they didn't have a lot of knowledge about alchemy and magic, they found a way to try and resurrect their mother, but because this is not seen as a good thing, they were punished by giving, the one of them lost his arm and his leg, and the other one lost his whole body, so his soul is sort of encaptured in the suit of armor, and the other one got a metal arm and a metal leg. Yeah, this one was not my favorite of the volumes for sure. They're still great. I do have a lot of enjoyment when I read them, but there was something in the overall plot of this that didn't intrigue me as much, so let's get to the breakdown. The characters get a 10 out of 10 because I love the Ulrich brothers. Al and Edward are just precious. They're both flawed, but Al is a gem. Like, he's the real gem in this one. Edward can be very, very angry, and he has anger management issues, is what you call it, I think. But I still love him a lot because there's a reason he is acting the way he does. And you see more and more info about why he acts the way he does with every volume. So the atmosphere or the art style gets an 8 out of 10. It's pretty the same with everyone. Let's check out my bookmark. It is manga, so, but I do enjoy them, so it's great. The writing gets a 9 out of 10. I do really like the author. Hiromu Arakawa really do add a lot of great things to her stories, and the dialogues are always great, and the writing is good. So yeah. The plot gets a 7 out of 10, that's what dragged this one down for me. It wasn't as good as the previous volumes, so it definitely changed a little bit. The overall intrigue gets an 8 out of 10 because I did have to read this in 3 sittings before I finished it. So, and usually I would eat this volume up either in 1 sitting or maybe 2 sittings, because sometimes I just start it in the evenings and can't read very much before I fall asleep. But I wasn't as intrigued by this one as previous volume. The Logic gets a 7 and 8 out of 10 again, sort of same vibe as the other. And Overall Enjoyment gets an 8 out of 10 with an overall score of 8.29, so it gives an overall 4-star rating. So yeah, so those were the 5 things that I had to talk about today. Let's talk a little bit about the books that I'm currently reading. First up, I have started on an audio of Ever After by Kim Harrison. This I am about halfway through, I think, maybe a little further. It is booked 11 in the Rachel Morgan or the Hollow series. I have also started on Goldstrike Island by Frances Hardinge. I'm not enjoying this one that much. It's a little bit slow and not really my thing. I'm on page 126, but I'll give it a little more before I make a decision about it. This has nothing to do with my project, by the way. Ever After doesn't either. The other one I am currently reading, that is the only one you get a sneak peek into my current vlog, and that is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I am now on page 309. I have about an hour left of the audio, so I'm definitely close to finishing it. So yeah, this is one of the books that I'm reading for my vlog. Let me know if you have an idea about what the vlog is going to be about. That could be fun if you could guess it. Anyway, this is all I had for you this week. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of the books that I have been reading. What were your thoughts of them? Do you agree with any of my opinions about them? Are there any of the books that you consider picking up? Also, let me know if you've read anything fun recently. I'm always up for recommendations, so let me know about that. And yeah, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video very, very soon. Goodbye!